Welcome back to Critical Trigger, episode 2, recorded August 3rd, 2020. At the top of the podcast, we will talk about some Vanguard news, and at the back of the podcast, we will have an interview with the one and only Kaiser, captain of HDF, and that is important. You will find out why in just a minute or so. But let's get into the Vanguard news. So, if you all been sleeping under a rock, you may not know there's a new season, a new set out in Vanguard Zero. I believe this season's reward is Vermilion. So if you're a free-to-play player and Narukami is something that you are interested in playing, you are going to want to play this season and get all of your copies of Vermilion, who is very key to running the deck at a competitive level. New set dropped as well. Features Spectral Duke, Battle Sisters for OTT, Pale Moon, and Dark Irregular support, as well as Narukami support. Now, I don't know if the Pale Moon and Dark Irregular support will make the decks competitive. Maybe not. I don't know about Battle Sisters being a competitive build or if it's better than Tsukiyomi, but I think it'll be easier to play than Tsukiyomi if you don't want to count your trigger stacks and things like that. And the Spectral Duke, it has a really good effect, right? Anytime you can attack with your rear guard's Vanguard and then restand your Vanguard and attack again, that's really good. As well as he not only fits into Gold Paladins, but he fits into Shadows as well. So if you start seeing some Spectral Duke builds of both of those, don't be surprised. I think people will be testing it out a lot just to see how competitive that build can actually be. And I think that might be all. Oh yeah, there's a summer event going on where you could get summer skins of characters. You could get Miwa. And there's a new Misaka skin as well if you trade in the V medals, and there's a few other summer skins, I think. And then the other big news is I think they're going to restructure how PGs work in Vanguard Zero. I think it might be up to the user if you want to use your PG or not, which I'm a fan of. I think it should have been that way from the very beginning. This will allow a lot more flexibility. This will allow you to avoid a lot more user manipulated situations. So people being very aware that you have a PG in hand can sometimes manipulate the duel and do things that you have no control over. I think this will give the player more control, and I'm always a fan of the player having more control, especially in competitive situations. Now, tournament news. So you all know I host, or maybe you don't know, I host a Friday tournament every week, the circuit. And in this week's circuit number 9, Dragfall was our champion. His first ever circuit win. He went up against Wu Tills in a very heated championship matchup. But Wu Tills is already a champion, so it was nice that someone new, Dragfall, could find his title belt. There was also the Coco Cup Weekly that happened Sunday, where I believe Patrician Pat was the winner. And there's various other tournaments that happened throughout the week. I believe the Morikawa server does daily tournaments. I believe you all might know a Discord user by the name Kogi. He does daily tournaments. You can also, if you're interested in finding out about if there is a tournament that maybe aligns up with your free time, you can check out my server, The Den. You can check out Meganay's server if any of you know him. His server called Vanguard Versus. And you can also check out the QK server. All three servers host pretty much advertisement resources for any and all tournaments. So those would be the 3 places to get plugged in. There's also the Vanguard tournament server as well. So 4 servers to get plugged into if you are interested in participating in tournaments. A lot of them are, I think actually the majority, if not all of them, are free entry. And some of them will have prizes, whether it be Bushiroad pack support or actual money to win. So yeah, get plugged into those. Now, I forget the abbreviations for MMM, but the Morikawa server is also hosting their team event called MMM. It's something mania. But so it's a team event, 4 to a team, $10 entry fee. I believe they need one more team for the season to start. So if you're interested in that, definitely set up a team and get that last spot, because all of the team entry fees goes towards the prize support. So the winning team will win all of it. Will win the whole. Well, okay, they won't win all of it. The winning team wins the majority of the pot, and I believe second and third place team gets paid out as well. So at the very least, you could get your entry fee back, pretty much. But so that's gonna go down relatively soon. I do have a team participating in it, another version or iteration of TOF, just a little bit of different members. I believe we have Wootills, Card Fighter, and Swipe Right. So shout out to my teammates for the Morikawa team event. It's only gonna last a month, including a playoffs as well as championship. So get plugged into that if you aren't already. And then the biggest event that took place over the weekend, of course, was the Team War Championships. For anybody unaware, the Team War and the Team War server put together and hosted by Almond, the legend himself, a one-man operation pretty much, 2 months of, I believe, 14 teams duking it out to make the playoffs, and then duking it out within the playoffs to get to the last 2 teams, which was HDF and RYG. HDF being, I believe, a group of players, hodgepodge from all over the world, from the US and I believe maybe Europe. While RYG, I believe, is exclusively located in Asia. I think the majority of them are located in Singapore, if I'm not mistaken. So they duked it out in a Team War championship that I was lucky enough to cast with my co-host Juicy Gaming. We were able to cast this championship bout, and it went to round 3, game 3, and it was just the most insane thing ever. I will try to make sure I get the VOD of it to Almond and see where he wants to place it for playback, so that everybody could just have a chance to watch. It was some amazing matches to be had for sure, but at the end of it, HDF did come out on top. They are the first ever Team War champions. So shout outs to Lycos, Megane, Yami, Shanna, Patrician Pat, Oracle, and Kaiser. And speaking of Kaiser, Kaiser is the team captain of HDF. And I have an interview with him that I will insert here to listen to. Alright, so for those of you who don't know, the Team War finals was Sunday, and it was HDF versus RYG, and the champions were HDF. And here we have an interview with their captain, their leader, Kaiser. Welcome to the podcast, Kaiser. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling okay. Happy after the victory. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So you said you're happy after the victory. Was there any nerves or anxiety leading up into the championship match for Sunday?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, it was the culmination of, what was it, about 2 months of work, I think. And in week 3, we already faced RYG once, and we lost 2-0 to them, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, I was pretty nervous, curious what would happen. Just praying we didn't get 2-0 again. Thank God it didn't happen, so... Yeah.
Okay, so you had actually lost to that RYG team previously 2-0?
Yeah, in week 3, I think. 2 or 3.
Dang. So, okay, so this was a little match to prove that you could actually not just be champions, but beat the team that shut you out, pretty much.
Yeah. To be
Okay.
fair, we did have like an entirely different roster back then, so
Okay, so there were some roster changes. I mean, it
yeah.
happens. I think most teams had roster changes throughout the season. Speaking of a roster, so when you created the team, what were some of the criteria you were looking for in players? Was there tryouts that you held, or were you just looking for achievements from players? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, at first I was just looking for people that I already knew and talked a bit with in the community, and asking like, "Hey, this is going to be a thing. Do you want to join the team or make one together?" Stuff like that. And one of the guys that joined me actually knew like a bunch of people, like Patricia and Pat and Megane. They both came from him pretty much, and someone else. He brought like 3, 4 people in, I think. So that was basically like the base of the team, and then I had a few other people from Find the Team and stuff like contacting me if there were any spots left, and I just asked them for like how high have you gotten on ladder, have you won any tournaments, that kind of stuff. Do you have any competitive decks like fully built, because I can't have someone, if I want to win I can't just have someone join with like Cray Elementals, that doesn't work. And I had like one spot left at one point, and I had someone from my team scrim him a couple of matches, and it was like, yeah, he's fine, so he joined as well. And that's about it. I didn't really do much for tryouts, so I was just like, if I have a good feeling about them, then yeah, sure, they can join.
Okay, so intuition mixed in with maybe some achievements as well as competitive decks. Gotcha. And
Yeah.
when it came time to choosing lineups, what was your thought process? So between choosing the personnel as well as which decks each person was going to use, was it solely on you, or did you maybe ask what deck people wanted to play? Talk to me about that.
During the regular weeks, I just made a roster of 4 people every week with set subspot and stuff like that. So I was trying to divide it a bit evenly so people wouldn't get left out or get to play like one match and then never again. So I tried to have at least 2, 3 matches for everyone. And in playoffs, I asked the team like, "Hey, what do you want to do? Do you want me to continue just dividing it evenly, or do you think it's the best if we just pick like the best performing members and have them play?" And they were all like, "Yeah, just pick the best performing members and do what you think is best." So at that point, it was basically just the same 4 or 5 rotating around if they could make it or not during the playoffs and the qualifier. And for decks, I don't know. Most of them, we didn't really talk about what they wanted to play. I was just like, if you want to have the best chance, just pick something that's like the most competitive, so something like Dota or MLB, that kind of stuff, to have the highest chance of winning, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like I told them like you have to play this or whatever. It's kind of their own choice with a bit of input. So
Okay. And now this one I gotta ask. Did it ever make you nervous that if anyone saw Patrician Pat on the roster that we knew what he was gonna play?
I mean, everyone knows what he's gonna play. It's not really much of a surprise. I think he played. There was one week we had him play MLB because of time constraints, and that didn't go so well. So it was just like, yeah, just play Tsukuyomi again. It's fine, whatever. And like as you can see, like they can't really beat him either way. So even if they know what's up. So.
That is very true. Okay. So going into that championship match, I believe you guys bought Tsukiyomi, two Spike Brothers, and what was the fourth deck?
Dotes, if I remember
Dotes. Okay.
correctly.
And was there discussion about that particular lineup? Because I remember beforehand, we know what Pat was going to bring, and I had seen Megane. I actually had practiced against him, and he was really practicing spikes. So, was there any discussions prior to that, or did just everyone know that these were the decks we were going to bring?
For Pat and Megane, it was pretty much set in stone because Pat is the Tsukuyomi god, and Megane had months of practice like before on the JP server with his spike, so we all felt really good about him picking that. So that's also like, yeah, just do your thing. Shanna was playing Dotes because I think, yeah, the MLB nerf came right before, and normally he played MLB, but we saw everyone saying it felt really bad to play now, and it's much more high rolly. So yeah, he just picked Dote, and it ended up going pretty well. Struggled a bit the first round, but then he recovered nicely. So.
Mm-hmm.
And for Yami, I don't know. He wanted to play spikes, and I'm just like, yeah, that's fine. I think it's a pretty competent deck, so I don't see why not.
Okay, speaking of Yami had probably the clutchest moment there on stream when he pretty much won Team Wars for you guys, right? So let's talk about that last round. So you guys lose round 1, you then win round 2, but because you lost round 1, some special rules were in place, right? RYG got to basically go up a game for free by essentially sniping, quote unquote, or banning one of your players, and they chose Megane, who had won both his rounds against them. And so they snipe Megane. They go up 1-0. I think you guys' maybe best case scenario was winning at least 2 to force a tiebreaker. But then things came down to a game 3 between Yami and who was Yami against? Do you remember?
Good Boy, I think.
Yes, Good Boy. Yami versus Good Boy. So things came down to a game 3 to decide. So let's rewind back to the beginning of round 3. Did you know who they were going to ban?
Well, with the playoff rules, it's both teams shuffle, except in round 2 when one team loses, they get to shuffle only their lineup. So it was kind of RNG dependent anyway, what matchups were going to be in place, and it ended up being Megane versus Chalice again, which we knew he could win because he did it before already in the same finals. So that's when we were like, yeah, they're probably going to ban him, and they ended up doing that. But for the most part, I had faith in all the guys. Like I know they can win, so it's all fine. As you said already, I was kind of expecting it to just be a 2-2 with Megane out, and then we just have someone, we decided on either Pat or Megane playing the tiebreaker if it came to that. But then, yeah, they ended just winning all of them, so kind of a surprise there.
Yeah,
I mean, totally expected,
Was there nerves involved watching that game 3 with Yami? Because even within that game 3, Yami wasn't necessarily. I don't think he had the optimal starting hand, and things got off to a little bit of a rough start. But he managed to not only bring the game back under control, but win. So were you nervous looking on?
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, I think he didn't get the Emperor at all that last game?
Yeah, he had to win game 3 with no Dudley Emperor and not even Siegfried. I believe Maxim was his grade 3 Vanguard.
Yeah, no, he had maximum all game, yeah. So that was, of course, a bit rough to see. But I don't know if you even noticed, but all of us were just like full capsing in the team chat, like, come on, Yabi, you can do it, you got this. It was, it was all just hype, hype, hype. But yeah, no, of course, like when you see that he misses the Emperor the entire game, and the enemy has this one, you're thinking, oh no, is this gonna go okay? But came in clutch, so yeah. I don't know what else to say about it, but yeah.
Yeah, like it was a very clutch moment. So I think my last question would be HDF, Holy Dumpster Fire. What is the origin of the name and what does it mean?
Yeah, so before when was this? This was like back in season 1 and 2 of Vanguard Zero. I joined the server and there was this other guy, and we entered the team tournament together, and for some reason, like his all the roles in the server were based on fire and that kind of stuff. And his role was Holy Fire, and my role was Dumpster Fire. So it kind of just ended up mixing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we, he was one of the guys I asked, like, hey, do you want to join me in this Team War stuff? So when we had to decide a name, we were just like, yeah, let's just go with that. He didn't end up staying on the roster, but that's kind of the name we went with back then, and it didn't change, so it's not all that much special. But I guess it's kind of funny seeing that in between all the other names.
Yeah, it definitely is a unique name, but it worked. You guys are the first Team War champions. Do you remember what the prize pot was? I believe it was $500+, right?
Yeah, the total was 530-ish, I think I saw Elman say.
Okay, so about 530. So you guys definitely got your entry fee back.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So congrats on being the champions. Thank you for taking the time out to do the interview, and I think everybody will be watching to see not what only HDF does from here, but what you guys individually go on to do in Vanguard.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.